Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Going back to last week, obviously disappointed, not discouraged. A bunch of very, I would say, upset and mad guys, coaches alike, at what we did and what we did not do. And I think that's the biggest thing, is looking at anytime you have a loss, is taking the opportunity to grow and learn from it, and that's what this is for us with our football team. It's a huge, huge learning opportunity. And offensively speaking, I thought it was really two different halves. In the first half, I thought we moved the ball well. Got 21 points, had a 93-yard touchdown drive, compared to the second half where we had 6 points and really couldn't get in a rhythm. We ran the ball pretty efficiently, but gave up, too many negative plays. They had 10 plays in our backfield, 7 TFLs, which gets you off schedule, offensively, and a lot of details, whether it's route depth or a location, a split, being off an edge, in certain places, not quick enough to the tuck, not accurate enough with the ball. There's so many little things that could have changed how we played on offense. I do think our red zone offense has been really good, and other things that we've got to do better. I like the way that some of the guys competed, and just a lot of stuff that we got to fix, and an opportunity to do that, and excited to do that with our guys. They were very, very good yesterday in our meetings with them. Defensively, I thought we played slow. I didn't think we tackled as well as we have. Whether we were losing a gap, misfitting a run, or not setting the edge appropriately. Didn't contest enough balls, which is something we've been doing well, playing tighter coverage. I thought we gave up some stuff that we haven't been, and weren't disruptive, didn't play with good enough technique. A lot of basic things. I thought they played fast, their tempo was good, and we didn't adjust to that very well throughout the game. In special teams, the block punt obviously was a critical mental error, and really something that should never happen with our protection scheme that we have. With all that being said, there's 11 minutes in the game, and we're down by 4, and get a stop on defense, and an unfortunate penalty that created that drive to extend, and I felt like that was a critical point in the game. As bad as we were playing, to have a chance to win and didn't do the right things. We got to play the ball better when the ball's in the air, and flags are going to be thrown, when you don't. But the best part about it, I think our kids understand this, our players, our coaches. It's an opportunity, and I think every obstacle in your life is a choice, how you're going to handle that adversity. And for us, it's an opportunity to improve, and that's what we're going to do. Get to come home this week and play a night game, a sold-out game, a blackout. Our guys will have their black uniforms on, and excited about that. Excited about an opportunity we have this week, too, in the community, and really nationwide, with the set the expectation. Brenda Tracy, who is very well known, came here in the spring and met with our football team. Really met with all the student athletes, and James Smith-Williams, another member of our men's soccer team, joined up and did something with our baseball program in the spring, and have now set up to do the same thing with our football team. And we'll wear a shirt that advocates her cause, and I'm very excited and proud of our guys for wanting to be part of a solution to such a big thing nationally, something that we can do, to help Brenda and help her cause and help our world. And proud of our student athletes for being a part of that, and look forward to that opportunity for them to use their platform to help something way bigger than them. And appreciate her allowing us to do that with her, and all that it stands for. Moving forward, Ball State football team that is really good on offense. They're impressive. Obviously, I know a lot about the MAC conference and the skill level. There's good receivers, there's good running backs, there's athletic players in that league, and their quarterback's playing at a high level. When you look at him, he's 70% completion rate. He's over 1,000 yards in 3 games, 11 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He knows this progression. He gets the ball to his backs when people are covered, and does a nice job. You know, they're a balanced offense like us. They're almost 50-50 in run pass. There's a lot of play action down the field. And their tailback's a tough kid. He runs downhill. They have 4 returning starters up front and play fast. I mean, they're getting over 80 plays a game offensively, so the tempo is going to be something we've got to be prepared to play well against. They're scoring over 30 points a game, 37 points. So, you know, good football game for us to have at home and against a good opponent. You know, defensively, they're sound. They got a lot of players back that have played for them, and they're athletic. All 4 starters in their secondary are back. They got a free safety that's 6'4", 220 that makes a lot of plays. He's their leading tackler in the box and does a lot of things for them in the boundary. And Will linebacker, number 6, Thomas, is very athletic. And their jack and their 3-4 personnel, which is their boundary end, does a really nice job on the edge. But they're a team that, you know, plays hard. It's a coach that's been there now for a few years and has played a lot of young guys that are now in their 3rd year. And so a good test for our football team and really a chance for us to get back to, you know, running the football and throwing it and catching it and doing the things we need to do defensively, getting back to being aggressive and playing fast. And, you know, I think we got out of who we wanted to be in that football game, and you know, it was a great opportunity to learn. So look forward to that with these guys this week. Questions?
What was your main takeaway from Matt's performance? And as you were rewatching, was there anything in there that you thought you might have to reevaluate what you're doing there?
Well, I think there's always things we have to reevaluate. We now have 3 games worth of information, and there's certain things he's doing really well. There were some situational things on 3rd and 1 where we had RPOs called where that's on us. You know, we shouldn't have him even think about throwing the ball right there. And that's not on Matt, that's on us. There was a couple 3rd downs where he threw a good ball and the ball was dropped. And, you know, obviously you're going to say the receiver should catch it. And, you know, so I think there's a lot that goes into him playing better, and he needs to play better. He was mad at himself on some of the things he could do better, you know. What is he doing well? I mean, he's not turning the football over, you know. He's getting guys lined up outside of the first play of the game where we had a delay. He's managing the clock well. And so he's doing some good things, you know. But it's his 3rd college game. It's his 1st road game in a loud environment. Did he play great? No, he didn't. And can he play better? Yes, he can. As far as changing things, yeah, I think we got to grow. I mean, we're going to evolve on offense. We got a lot of new parts, and we got injuries with C.J. Riley being out. You know, so we're going to, as the season goes on, become more and more of who we're going to be. I think as you see us, and we have to do a good job evaluating that. You know what, and that's what we did yesterday. What has he done well? What hasn't he? Let's get rid of that. Let's focus on the things that he's really doing well. You know, where are we succeeding in the run game? What can we do off of the run game to help with the pass game? But I think that's part of being young on offense. You think you know what you want to do, but when you play, you really find out what you can do. You know, and that's our job, is to change some things based on the information we now have. And you know, the other 2 quarterbacks are practicing well. We got to continue to get them better. And like I tell them, I mean, everybody in our program that's in the 2 deep, that's in the 3 deep, has to get ready to play. You know, and if they get an opportunity, they do at some point. But you know, never going to say that Matt, you know, underperformed to the point where I got to pull him out, right? I think there's a lot of things, just like if you look at our running backs or our corners or our offensive line or our tight ends, across the board as a football team, we got to play a lot better.
Picking up on what you were just saying, do you feel like this is the kind of game that where Bailey might be able to get some snaps and get him in there a little bit?
I mean, you'd love to say that. You know, we'll just have to see how it goes this week.
Just going back to that RPO stuff, was that something you saw? Did Missouri have success against them? Is that what happened? And you tried to put some more of that stuff in there?
We've had RPOs in all year, and they've been good. You know, sometimes we play with tempo, and when you play with tempo, it means you're going to run that play. You know, and for example, if you have an inside zone or an outside zone that has throws that he can throw, if they're there, he's going to throw them. You know, and maybe you don't want him to throw them, so just don't call the play that has the option. Just say, hey, we're just going to run the run. And when you do that
on the 4th down.
When you do that, you can't play with tempo now. Now you got to slow it down and see what I mean. And so I think it's just a learning curve. when you have a more experienced quarterback, he would have said, I don't care that there's a throw on it, I'm running this thing. You know, and he's a third-time starter, so that's not on Matt, that's on us, you know. Those are just things that you see, and like, all right, well, how can we make that easier for him? Well, we did. We got to the next third and one, we just handed it off, or we had a play action call. We took the game management piece out of it, and as quarterbacks grow, then you can add those things back to their plate, you know.
Dave, you have competition at a lot of different positions on this team. How important is that in a week like this when you're trying to bounce back and get it back together?
Well, I think it's great. You know, I think it makes people have to practice well because they know the guy behind them is trying to take their job, you know. And the other thing it does is it allows you to rotate in games when you're having a lot of reps. I mean, we're playing an offense that's averaging 80 snaps a game this week, and then you look at some of the teams down the schedule that are getting almost 100 snaps in a game on offense. So that depth is only good if it's competitive, you know. And so you want those guys to be able to compete in practice and then reward them with playing time if they've earned it. And at some positions, we've been able to do that more than others.
Coach, you have 3 players on your roster from Clayton High School. That school recently kind of got wrapped up in a grade-fixing scandal involving athletes. Any concern about their eligibility moving forward?
No. Every student athlete at NC State goes through the exact same process that every student that's admitted here goes through. So it's not an athletic evaluation. It's on campus, and they go through every class on their transcript. And then, because they're athletes, it has to then go to the clearinghouse. And so there's a twofold process that doesn't even go in our office, right? And so there's been nothing brought to our attention about those guys. Found out in August about that thing and hadn't heard anything about it until today. But I feel good about what's happened, you know, on our campus.
Dave, I know you don't talk about injuries, but Smith Williams and Bo Tapelli are both listed number 1 on the depth chart. What do you feel like you anticipate them being able to play?
That's our hope. Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned C.J. Riley's out for the year. You have
Yeah.
to adjust. Is Sabari Hines someone that you might be able to put outside because of his speed?
Yeah, I think, you know, he's been outside at times. He was outside in the game Saturday. And that's one of the things that, you know, we're looking at all the time is how we can utilize different guys. And Keon Lasane's a guy that was banged up a little bit early that now we feel like is getting healthier too, that it just adds another piece. Devin Carter and Emeka probably played too much. You know, we've usually had a little bit more of a rotation in the game, and so that's something Coach McDonald's talked about, trying to utilize Thayer, utilize Emeka, utilize Keon, utilize Max, and try to take some of that load off of those guys.
There's been a lot change on the depth chart, but Keyshawn Miller was a guy that Keyshawn, I apologize, listed at the top of the depth chart now. What has he done to help himself and get to that point?
I would tell you he's one of the hardest workers in our program, not just at corner, but Keyshawn works really hard. He's consistent. He competes. He's knowledgeable of our scheme. He understands what to do and how to do it. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing is you get a consistent, hard-working performance every snap. He's got great confidence in himself. He communicates well with his teammates. And so that's kind of why you see where he's at. He's been through a lot, you know, and I'm proud of what he's done, you know, as far as his work ethic and things he's got to improve on, obviously. But he went in the game and competed, I thought.
Dave, I think you guys had the same number of penalties in this game you had in the first 2. I know it's something you emphasize, every coach does. How difficult of a thing is it to, I guess, sort of manage or control as opposed to something schematic you're making a change because there is such a variable of guys in the heat of action making a mistake?
Yeah, you know, it's some of the penalties you can manage, and I think obviously clock management, that's coaching, and that's players doing their job, right? You know, focus is your pre-snap stuff, offense and defense, and those are things that we've been pretty good. Some of the things between the whistles, you know, that's technique, and offensive holding happens every play. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't, right? Pass interference, sometimes it looks like PI and it doesn't get called, sometimes it does. And for us, we just got to coach the technique to the best that we can to try to prevent it from being called. You know, I think the things that were most disappointing to me, like Jarius' penalty out of bounds, he can't do that. There's no way he can do that as a senior that's played as much football. And Calvin Hart jumping on a guy that's on the ground, we can't do that. And those are choices that were made in the game I can limit that, you know, they can limit that. And so we spent a lot of time talking about heat of the moment of truth, right and wrong, you know, and focus. And I think those are things that, for the most part, we've done well. We did not do well in this game. 9 penalties is way too many.
Just to follow up on that, when you're playing games like this, the last weekend, the margin for error becomes slimmer. I mean, how much more magnified then does that make a penalty problem when, you know, something you've been on top of maybe doesn't work out that way, the way you want it?
Well, I feel like our football team, and everybody probably says this, but don't beat yourself, number one. Like if we're going to win a game, let's not make it where we lost the game. You know, and every penalty that we can take off the board is yardage, one way or the other. And so we have to own that. You know, as a program, we talk about it a lot, we emphasize it a lot, and that's one of the things that we control in some cases. You know, I don't think you always control holding a penalty. I don't, because it happens all the time. But a lot of these things are in your control as players, particularly the late hit type things. I mean, you can't do it. You know, so frustration sometimes sets in on a guy and he does the wrong thing, and that's just maturity, and we got to be better than that.
You may not know this in year 7, but fans and media types are prone to overreactions. How do you keep like the see the forest from the trees? Because you know, you talked about how young you are this year and how much development is important to you, but how do you try to see the big picture and kind of keep yourself focused and not caught up in let's bench Matt or let's, you know,
Right.
turn the program over to Bolz's corpse or something?
Yeah. You know, honestly.
That was for Boo.
Yeah. And Boo's helped me with this, to his credit. You know, he's been very, very helpful to me. And I think it all starts with him and then me to my staff and my staff to my players and our strength staff. And, you know, I mean, 7 days ago everyone was loving everybody, and now today they're, you know, and that's this game, you know, it's a sport. And as the leader of this program, I can't act like that. I mean, we just got to get better. And so we got hit in the mouth, so we need to get better and go hit someone else in the mouth, you know, and that's football, and, you know, that's what happens when you don't play well, and we didn't, you know. We obviously didn't prepare them, so that's us as coaches, and felt like we did, but didn't show, you know, and so we got to own that, and the players got to own their part, and then we got to get back to work. And, you know, you're one day away from somebody loving you or hating you in this business. That's just how it is, you know. You sign up for that when you decide to be a college coach.
Coach, you talk about how young this team is. To play in an environment like that, how important was it for the young kids to get a taste of what they saw on Saturday?
Well, I mean, I can't give them a game day, and especially a road game like that. It was a great environment, and didn't handle it well. So they'll get better from it. We've got another environment like that coming up in 2 weeks. You know, we'll go down to Tallahassee. So it's great to have that opportunity and learn from it, and hopefully it'll be something that helps us a lot, you know, moving forward.
As you evaluated the tape, how much was the bump up in the level of competition a factor at all?
Oh, it's a factor. I mean, they were the fastest thing we've seen, you know, in a long time, and since the bowl game. So, and they have good team speed there. They really do. They play fast. You can't simulate those things every day, you know, and so there's no doubt. But that's not why we lost the football game. You know, it's not. We just didn't execute. So that's what we got to focus on. You know, and we do a lot of good on good. I've told you guys that already. Where we're seeing speed in practice every day in our one-on-ones and our scaling, our first down, second down, and our third down, and our red zone. We do that Tuesdays and Wednesdays against each other. So, but for 4 quarters of football, and they have good players at the skill positions. And, you know, look forward to continuing that, because that's, as you guys know, that's where this is going the next 8 weeks.
Do I have anything else?
Just coming in here and seeing you guys makes me happy. That's what makes me good.
That's what you're doing.
But we're